So you guys don't really have a formula, you just sit down and chase the sound?
No. Basically, Bob just kind of brainstorms and just records riffs. That's it. He riffs and he puts some mock drum beats to it so we can get a feel of, you know, the feeling he's going for. And, you know, at one point he had maybe like 80 riffs, you know, and obviously we don't use all of them, but we go through them and we see which parts are strong, and those become the building blocks for the songs, you know. And that's how it starts. And then, you know, he'll have a couple of parts that may work together, and then he'll add to it. So it's just a foundation. It's a starting point, and then from there is where we kind of get rolling, you know. So
what was the meaning behind the terms Majesty and Decay this time around?
Majesty and Decay is it's about the dark underside of America, of life, of corporations, of just the seedy side of something that looks shiny and great, you know. And it could apply to a lot of things, you know. It could be anything. It could refer to in a political sense, a religious sense, you know. It could apply to a lot of things. I mean, I write the way we write things very open-ended, so people can interpret them in different ways. I have specific ideas in mind when we do write the lyrics. The Majesty and Decay song was inspired by the rise and fall of Nazi Germany, and that's specifically what I had in mind. But I didn't want to be specific in the lyrics. I kind of wanted it to be broad to it could apply to any kind of like corrupt regime or dictatorship or anything that kind of oppresses and suppresses people and really tries to inflict its own views and opinions into other people's minds, you know. And you see that a lot in the world, past and present, you know. So it was just a strong theme, and it's really about, like, you know, and that's what it applies to, you know, specifically, but in a broader sense, that's the idea generally, you know. So
when you have the fans listen to your open lyrics, what times do you say, okay, so interesting interpretation, that's very insightful, you found something that we didn't find there? When do you say you've gone way too far and went off the deep end?
Well, I don't, because you know, I've had people come up to me in the past and say, oh, you know, I love this particular song and this is what it means to me, and even if they're way off track, you know, it's like, that's what they got out of it personally. Who am I to say, no, that's not what you should be getting out of it? That's what you get out of it. Music is art, so whatever you get out of it, you get out of it, you know. It's a personal thing, you know. I mean, I know specifically what I have in mind when I'm writing, you know, but I don't like to be that specific, because I like it to be kind of fun like that, where you can interpret it differently, you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And I've had people come up to me and say, what is this about? And I'll tell them, oh, I kind of had this in mind when I was writing that, and they'll say, oh wow, I never would have got that, but now that you say that, yeah, it kind of makes sense. But that's the cool thing about it, you know. And not all the time. Sometimes they're just loose ideas or just feelings in general, and sometimes to try to articulate a general feeling into lyrics it could be difficult, you know what I'm saying? So you kind of gotta have a starting place and kind of build on it, and you know, when you get to the end, you know, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. So you know, you got to change things, but you know, sometimes it's not always as cut and dry for the lyrics. But the last, I think, since Unholy Cult, Bob and I have been collaborating with the lyrics, so it's nice to have that second mind in there, you know, that second look, you know. It definitely helps, because I've said so much about religion in the first 5 albums that it becomes redundant after a while. It's hard to say something fresh that I haven't already said. So it was nice over the last couple of albums to kind of branch out and just kind of look at just life in the world today and things that are relevant to people now, you know, and what's going on in the world. And it's, you know, and of course we do tie in some of the religious themes as well, but they're done in a different way. So you know, it's always something new, you know. We try to at least kind of do something fresh, at least.
What sorts of things then this time around got you charged up enough to sit down and write? What drove the pen to the paper?
I read a lot.
Like, what did you see, or was it something you saw around the world, the news, a book you read?
Everything. I mean, I read a lot, you know. I read a lot of history, you know, and I specifically, I just read like a 3-book series on, you know, the Third Reich, the rise and fall of the Third Reich, and then, but I also read a lot about World War II as well. So I had a lot of that in my head lately, And you know, so a lot of songs are inspired by that. I read a good book called Hitler's Pope, which was about Pope Pacelli, you know, during World War II. And the song Power and Shame was kind of directly inspired by that book, you know. Again, like, if you read the book, I mean, if you read the lyrics, you may not get that, but that's kind of what inspired me, you know. But it's loosely based on the church, you know. So yeah, like little things like that. It doesn't have to be. It could be something just something I experience in my day to day working in Manhattan, you know, or just could be feeling off one day and just want to let out some steam, and sometimes it just comes from that. It could be something I see in the news, or you know, it's hard to really pinpoint, you know. Some of the stuff did come from reading. A lot of the stuff on this record was inspired by, you know, stuff I've read in the last year or two, you know, but some of it not, you know. So
okay. And
observation, observing the world and what's going on, and listening to the news, and kind of trying to filter out what's fucking bullshit and what's not bullshit, and trying to inject my own opinion into it. That's a lot of it came from that as well. So, you know.
How's your quest been to filter bullshit from fact?
It's a rough one sometimes, you know. But there's a lot of bullshit out there. That's why, you know. So you kind of got to tread lightly with what you accept as fact these days, you know, without really kind of like looking into it. You know what I'm saying? Everything's candy coated. You know, the way things are worded and the way things are presented kind of mask a lot of really what's going on behind the scenes, and you know, I mean. We get it, you know what I'm saying? People who have, you know, a fucking brain in their head get it, you know, but a lot of people don't, which is sad, you know, so.